Remember all the love that was shared, all the hopes that were bared in December. That day was so chilly, but with you it felt so pretty. Remember, 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 remember the train that kept on, the souls that have gone. Will I surrender? Will I surrender? Will the yearn ever drop? Will my voice ever stop? Remember, remember. When our lives were safe and when we could be happy, when we could live free, amen. Fantastic. So yeah, that was the third song in the show, as a matter of fact, and it introduces the main character, this guy named Archer Paulo in the Society of Atlantis, and the King of Atlantis, Leo, and they sing that duet. Now, I think just to get you familiar with the story before we start throwing out words like, the King of Atlantis, the Mantis of Atlantis, Poseid, all these different things that go into Atlantis, we'd love to tell you a little bit about the arch of this story. So here's our director.
So the story kind of starts out, we have Archer Paulo, he's our main character. He's a Renaissance man of sorts, he writes music and he makes inventions and he studies history and he wants to travel the world and just kind of figure out, where we came from and this whole big question in life of what is my purpose. And he's best friends with the leader of Atlantis, also known as the Mantis. His name is Leo. And so Atlantis is in the middle of an era of prosperity and exuberance. Every other night they're kind of out partying, and every single person will tell you Atlantis is the greatest. And so Leo's commanding general decides and convinces him, let's use the energy instead of partying and, celebrating how great we are. Let's go to war with someone else.
Uh-oh. And that's very scary. But before we get to any scary part within Atlantis, we see lots of scenes of these poor people within Atlantis just celebrating as much as possible, enjoying this beautiful nationalistic pride that they have for their country. And one of those songs to celebrate it is number 5, Sweethearts Clubbin' In, sung by one of the main characters, this woman named Aphrodite. And she comes into the scene. She falls in love with this man named Archer, and convinces Archer that she's this upstanding woman, but really,
she's anything but.
She's anything but. As you can see in this song, Sweethearts Clubbin' In, where she's kind of the leading dancer at this brothel-like place. Atlantis is the place of smarts, and it has all of the main arts. But when you need a place to play the darts, you go to the club in town, sweethearts. Look, there's a stripper named Jack the Ripper in there. and there's an addict whose mother's proudly aware. And we are partying without a sight, and now we're losing minds both left and right. I know it'll be a lie if I say I will be in bed tonight, but that's alright. At the Sweethearts Club, if you're there, Bob, you don't know if you'll make it out alright. There's a stripper on a wall with a midget down the hall and a pet skunk that's not too bright. Come to the Sweethearts Club, come and grab some grub if you want the stomach flu. And before you know it, the Sweethearts Club will have you run in circles till you're blind. 'Cause I am running circles in my mind. Yes, so run in circles in my mind, in my mind. Thanks. So yeah, that leaves us at an impasse, right? All of a sudden, this country is filled with so much nationalism, but the leaders of the country would like to turn that into a more warish nationalism rather than the exuberance. So what continues to happen?
So so then the Mantis decides, hey, that's not a bad idea. Let's all go to war. And Archer, his best friend, doesn't agree with that idea, and he kind of speaks out against this, and that ends up landing him in some hot water. He goes to prison for trying to speak out against the nation for going to war. And then, of course, the nation finds that maybe they were in over their heads, and soon they're starting to lose a lot. And things start getting more desperate. So they find one of his inventions and decide to turn it into some sort of weapon that can wipe everybody out.
A doomsday device.
Yeah. And kind of once that gets set off, things kind of go awry, and they find out the wave that was supposed to kill their enemies is starting to head towards them instead. And this is where things start getting like a really big turn. But at first, none of the citizens quite know this yet. They still think they're going to better places. They're winning this war. And it's only a matter of time before they find out exactly what is happening.
And the person who knows the least, of course, is Aphrodite, right? And she's wandering her path, trying to find her own meaning. And this next song we're going to sing is what happens when she's starting to really fall for Archer, really fall for these values of the high class, right? Of the life of the high class. So this is a fun little duet. That's sung by Archer and Aphrodite while they're just before all these bad things start to happen, when they're in their most blissful, ignorant state. This is It's Always Been You. You are a tap dance shoe on a cloud of air, or the one that's always playing up in my hair. I'm a fool when I go off and stare. Oh yeah, it's always been you. You're the leaves on the tree in the swaying wind, or a candle in the night that just feels so right. I'm a saint bound for heaven that just never sinned. Oh yeah, it's always been you. You're the one that's always on my mind. You're the one that I want by my side. I'm a bee and you're my honey. Oh, won't you stick to me? I am a ghost, I am am invisible. You're my host. You make things livable. Where two hearts joined inseparably. Oh, it's always been that tap dance shoe on a cloud of air, or the one that's always playing up in my hair. I'm a fool when I go off and stare. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's always been you. It's always been you. It's always been you. It's always been you. Thanks. So, as we're following this path of Aphrodite, we're gonna switch over now to kind of the point of climax for this character. And this is when everything that Aphrodite's kind of been told, and all things she's been told is true in the society, that's when all these things start to crumble and fade away, and she sings this this powerful ballad about all the pains that she's been facing, and how pretty much everything in her life has been leading up to this point, and this point is just lackluster. Sure that happiness is all around you. That's what we're told, no other mold. But when I look around to see, I see grief. I see despair, and I see all of the little ones being sold on a lie. Merry early, you'll be surly until you find another pasture, one that's greener. Be great to meet her, but you will sure regret that too. 'Cause this is life, and though it's hard to take with all the masks we wear to cover up the shame, but it's just life. And though we seem to blame it on ourselves, the country, or people of fame, it's all a lie. So what's this game? Do you have to accept it when the hard part to accept accept it is to bear with all the pain. General Foray passed away today. They buried 3 lumps of clay. Family came out, then they ran out to the closest inn to say they had life enough to throw away.
Wow! Woo! Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. So as you can see, in the psyche of Aphrodite, as well as the psyche of a lot of Atlantis, is starting to go down and down and down. And so we start off the second act with the fact that this doomsday device has been launched, and Atlantis has just realized that they only have 3 days to live. And so the big question, we always ask, when you realize you have 3 days to live, when you realize your life is just so temporary, and all of your country has fallen to pieces, your traditions have all fallen to the roadside, your leaders, your celebrities have all wasted away. What do you do? Where do you turn to? Who do you look towards? And the people of Atlantis, since they always look towards their society, they all of a sudden have nothing, and so they're left to waste away. And that is when this beautiful character named Daphne is introduced.
So, yes, Scott was saying at this point, everyone knows they only have days left to live. So as you can imagine, everything just falls into anarchy. And Archer, who, through all the rioting, has now made his way out of prison and has seen what was once a great country now, literally and figuratively, going up in flames. He's kind of wandering around trying to, again, figure out what his purpose is, especially since he's almost indirectly responsible for it. And so, yes, he meets this character, Daphne, and she is this shining example of pretty much what he used to be. She's the only person he meets that isn't just completely fallen into insanity and rioting and destroying. And she's kind of this person who's the one person left who's still trying to make reason in a world that's thrown reason out the window. And so he's immediately kind of pulled towards that. And just kind of the shining light in the dark is what she kind of represents.
And so at the beginning of the second act, she sings this very peaceful and beautiful lament, and but a positive lament, a lament of good times to be had in this wreck of what Atlantis has been made into. And we're going to sing that for you, but I'm not going to sing it for you. For a change, we're going to have Simon Tiffin on vocals, our music director, our fantastic music director, who's also a fantastic singer.
Debatable.
Debatable. Oh, so apparently Simon Tiffin, he was in his first starring role in musical theater. It was in The Music Man in his high school production. How was that?
Correct. It was a great time. I was cast as Harold Hill my senior year of high school, which was actually kind of my introduction into singing. I never thought
Cast
that I would
as a
be
lead role.
majoring
Right? Wow.
in choral things now. So here we are.
Here we are. Listen to that, kids. Audition for your high school musical. You never know what's gonna happen. Anyway.
It's not wrong.
With that, we're gonna sing this Daphne's soliloquy. A flower may bloom and then may fade away.
but never will it stay away, for the seeds are sown by powers unknown, powers that flowers seldom know, as they rise and fade through this course they pervade, keeping stay a feeling inside of them, a feeling divine. The flowers will outshine the storm. To shine the storm.
Thanks, everyone. Well, so as we continue into the second act, where it's getting nitty gritty for everyone. People are in riots. Everyone's questioning where to put their faith. People do it in rioting. People do it in suicide. People do it in just not living. Just denying the fact that they have this life, even if it's for 3 days. And slowly, this archer who's still wondering for existence, wandering around in this pit of riots, the sea of riots, he discovers a way to give these people meaning, even if they're gonna die in 3 days.
So yes, as he meets Daphne and as he wanders along, he also starts to lose his faith in just what it means to be human after seeing everything. But through Daphne, he starts to believe in hope. And as Scott said, he finds something in a literal pile of trash, which he knows is the key to surviving, even not if in a physical state. And so through this, he is able to find hope again, and not just through himself, but to others as well. And so he has his final moments kind of having this moment of clarity on just, what is life? What is purpose? How do we create it? Who does it come from? And so, he's finally able to kind of see the light again, and he's not pulled into this chaos that everyone else kind of fell into in the end.
And as he realizes that, he sings this next song, Amen, which is one of the final numbers in the show. But the big thing that he finds out in the end is the machine that he's able to make with all the souls dying, and on the last day, this machine that he creates turns these souls that will float up into the sky forever. He turns them into tiny balls of gas. And so the final picture as he sings this song is you hear the wave rumbling, right, during the song. And then all of a sudden, right at the end, you see these millions and millions of stars, the souls of Atlantis rising to the sky. And a new world is set upon after this deluge, a world with stars in the sky, a world with meaning being above, with meaning being outside, your society, outside the traditions you create, something bigger, And he says this something is an amen as he sings this last song, Amen. I think about my life when it was all good. But now and then I remember a man that felt never understood. But now Atlantis, before you go down and vanish, let this be your final amen. Thanks.
That was wonderful, guys. We actually have quite a bit more time.
Oh, of
yeah,
course.
So
we got a couple more numbers to do afterward, but let's talk a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk. You are listening to WEFT 90.1 in Champaign. And this is WEFT Sessions, which is one of the longest running programs on WEFT Community Radio. And it's every Monday night from 10 to 11, and we present different types of live music that's local in a lot of cases. And tonight we have a very special treat, gentlemen that have created an original musical that's going to be performed December 8th?
Yes, December 8th.
December 8th at Lincoln Hall at the U of I. And it's called Atlantis. And if you just coming in and hearing it, it was a very beautiful story, kind of rebirth and death and rebirth. And some very, very nice music. These gentlemen, I'm sure you could hear it on the radio, but being here in person, it was really awesome. And you're very, very talented.
Thanks so much.
And so you briefly mentioned how you got into, I mean, a little bit about how you got into music. So,
Yeah,
Scott,
yeah.
How would you?
It's how I got into
Yeah.
music. Wow.
And Scott was the writer.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like Simon, but a little later. Simon got in his senior year of high school with the Music Man, which is a fantastic way. I wish that was my entrance into music and Broadway, but
No, you don't.
it's okay. I had more different beginnings. So I started my freshman year of high school. My brother was in choir. And he was like, "Hey, you should join choir. All the cool kids are in choir, and also all the ladies are in choir."
These are true facts.
These are facts that are thrown out, right? And so, I mean, what's better than spending an hour and a half, right, just in a room, with a couple of guys and then a room full of ladies. So, I mean, that's what got me into music. I don't know about anybody else.
So I should be worried about my freshman daughter who's trying out for the musical and part of show choir. No, I'm just kidding.
Comedy, no, but
But
yeah,
you're right. There are. It's a little bit. The girls do outnumber
Of
in high
course.
school anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still that way in college.
and
but.
and so my freshman year, I was like, I'm gonna audition for the show. It was Into the Woods. I was like, I'm gonna audition for this, and I'm gonna get Jack, who's one of the awesome roles. And I didn't get called back, didn't even get seen, and I was so angry. I decided, to write my own show, and so I had been studying composition by then. And I loved theater, I loved music, and I was like, hey, I'm going to adapt Dostoevsky's great novel, Crime and Punishment. And it turned out to be a 3-hour musical, which will never be produced. But it lies in my garage, just sitting there beautifully. But yeah, that's
quite an ambitious undertaking.
Yeah.
Well, I think any musical, because you're writing a story, you're composing songs, you're doing,
Yeah.
doing basically the whole
Cat
production.
and caboodle.
Yes, right. So it's quite amazing. And Simon, you said you were Harold Hill. One of my favorite
Harold
parts.
Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's not exactly where I started as a musician, but it's definitely, I think, one of the turning points for me in terms of deciding that it was what I wanted to do with my life, and also the first point that I'd ever experimented with singing, really ever. Singing is probably the newest skill in my skill set as a musician. When I grew up in a household where my parents, they were musical people, but they didn't do really anything with music. They had maybe experimented a little bit when they were younger. Like my dad liked to sing sometimes and play drums. My mother did clarinet, like in junior high or something. But there wasn't a lot of music. Where the music actually was with my two older brothers. My eldest brother, his name's Corey Tiffin. He's actually a professional clarinetist in the Chicago area.
A professional clarinetist.
Yes, that's his living. And he also is the principal clarinetist of the Las Vegas Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra, so he flies out there a lot. He's been in charge of various chamber groups in the Chicago area. So my middle brother also, fantastic voice, wonderful clarinetist, and a great pianist. I grew up in a household where they were making music all the time, whether it was playing Radiohead on the piano or practicing Brahms sonatas on the clarinet. I grew up with all that stuff. And my father was a huge fan of classic rock and psych rock, and he loved the Beatles, Blue Oyster Cult, Led Zeppelin. These were things that I all kind of grew up with, and I think it kind of shaped the timbre of my voice in some ways, actually. But
obviously,
Definitely hear the Led Zeppelin on that ballad you just sang.
No, but
I hear it.
I actually, my first introduction to music, I was about 5 or 6, and I was at solo and ensemble to hear my eldest brother Corey play the clarinet, like a solo or whatever at those solo and ensemble contests that they do in high school. And I just couldn't take my eyes off of the pianist that was accompanying him the whole time. And I was like, Mom, I want to do that. So the only piano teacher in our area was actually an organ teacher, but she played piano. So she said she would teach me piano. And she's definitely, I consider her family to me. And she actually did do her undergraduate work at Oberlin in piano performance, but she preferred to play organ because it's where she started, and that's what she preferred to teach. So I was her first piano student. I studied piano with her, and starting at age 6. And I also started doing band as a percussionist in the 4th grade. So going through kind of my whole musical career, I guess, if you call it that, growing up, I consider myself an instrumentalist. I didn't really touch my voice. I felt like that was for other people. And I loved doing theater in high school. So when I was cast as like Petruchio and Tammy the Shrew, I had plenty of runs in high school in the plays, and when I found out that we were doing a musical, I was kind of intimidated, to be honest, because I was like, well, I want to act, but maybe I should just go for the pit since I'm an instrumentalist. But they said, well, we're giving preference to people who join choir. So it's my senior year, and I thought, okay, fine, I'm a bando, but I'll join choir, and I joined choir, I joined jazz choir, and then I tried out, and I managed to get cast as the lead, and
how'd that happen?
Never
Wow.
looked back. Never looked back.
Shucks, I got cast as the lead.
But I never really
man,
looked
that's
back.
crazy.
I've done really more. I mean, I do an equal amount of piano and singing, I think, now. But it's really been a kind of gratifying experience for me, and I like that I can combine both things in this musical: teaching the chorus, working with the instrumentalists and the singers as kind of a vocal coach, but also having the opportunity to play piano and conduct. It's really been kind of a holistic experience for me, and I've really enjoyed being a part of it. So yeah.
And Simon has been playing the piano, and for those of you that are listening,
Beautifully, too.
yes, very
yes.
beautifully most of the time. Although Scott did, and it's Rick.
Tyler.
Tyler, I'm sorry. Okay, Tyler, tell us about how'd you get involved?
Oh, wow. So, starting with the whole theater thing in general, I was very much unlike these guys. I did not learn how to play an instrument until about 5th grade when I tried for the clarinet. Did that for like a year and a half. Hated it. Never went back.
I
Yeah.
just like the clarinet too. It's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, watch
yeah.
Hey,
My brother's life.
get out of here.
And then junior high, I was in the choirs, and I was like the background character in all the shows. But I absolutely hated being on stage. Like I liked seeing shows and like the music and stuff, but I hated being on stage. And then near the end of my junior high, early high school, I started also learning bass guitar. So I ended up coming back to do band. I was playing bass guitar, and then I also had to be a drummer. And then it really wasn't until high school when my older brother, who hates just being seen and talking to people, he not only auditioned for a show, but he got like a big role and he did it. And so that was very, it was very surreal seeing that. And so then the next year, I was like, you know what? If he's going to do it, I can try. And then next thing I know, I was in my Magicals program. And kind of like Simon, next thing I knew, I had a big role in a musical. My first role was the jester in Once Upon a Mattress.
Oh my god.
And so that was
That's a
just
great
like,
role. That is a great role.
Fantastic.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a wonderful role. And so, as someone who hated on stage, not only was I on stage singing, but I also had I was the only person with a solo dance number too. And so that kind of kicked out my fear of being on stage. And then I had this weird feeling of, wait, I kind of enjoyed that.
Wait, Tyler, why have I never seen you dance?
Yeah. Hold up. Can we get a sneak
Yeah.
peek, right? I know everyone on the radio can't see, but we'd love
It's a lot
to
of
see.
chords.
We'd love to
Best kick
hear
line.
the
Your
sound
best
of you
kick line.
dancing. Like maybe,
Trust me, no.
What's your best kick line, Tyler?
Maybe like that? I don't know.
wow.
Oh,
way up there.
but yeah, no. There's a reason you have not seen me dance. But no, so then after that, I actually really enjoyed it through the rest of high school. Yeah, anything, being in front of people, singing, acting, maybe occasionally dancing. I loved it. And so then after high school, I went to a community college for 2 years. And there I decided to try out theater still. I figured it's worth a shot. If it doesn't work out, there's something else. But it worked out. The other thing I'm maybe not as like these other two is I was just as interested as everything backstage as I was on stage. So as much as it can be very complicated for me, I still find like lighting and sound design just very interesting and set and bringing things together. So then during my second year of college, I directed a show. And it was a beautiful experience. It was a fantastic time. And that's kind of when I realized maybe this is what I'm going to do. And next thing you know, I'm here, senior year at the U of I, just putting together a musical that no one has ever seen or heard before. And the fact that I get to present that to people is just the coolest thing I could ever imagine.
It's amazing, and there's a lot of talent. I was very impressed when I got to see Mamma Mia, and Zach Runner, who played Eddie. I've known him since he was in third grade, so that's how I kind of got to see, got over there.
It
He's
was
you
a
know, there's a
wonderful
lot of
show.
a lot of talent.
Yeah.
There's
in- with
absolutely
the
a
students.
large pool of talent at the
Yeah.
UI. It is
Yeah.
Yeah,
fantastic.
amazing
Huge,
talent.
especially ISM. You know, the production Zach Cranner. They all do a fantastic job.
I would say we all feel very fortunate to know many individuals with many hidden talents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the university and the whole community, a very, very
Mhm.
wonderful
And, like,
music community.
Tyler's ability to dance. So many hidden talents.
Honestly,
everywhere.
that kick
Sounds
was
like they-
Oh,
incredible.
yeah.
I wish
You guys
let
don't
me try
know.
it- let me try it again.
Oh my!
gosh.
Oh wow! Oh baby!
It's too bad you guys can't see this.
Oh,
right now.
it's really a shame.
spectacle.
Oh my gosh!
Well, I do believe it's being filmed, so you know.
Oh, is
Oh,
it? Oh,
fantastic!
yeah.
We didn't even notice that.
See this
Uh-oh.
after the fact.
Yikes.
How does my hair look?
So you have to go
Quick,
to
tell me.
WEFT.org, and I believe Parkland Television is filming too. And at this point, I'd like to
Already
say
now.
thanks to Mike Feldman and Charlie, who are here, our technicians that always put together a great show. We want to
Yeah.
really appreciate
Oh, yeah,
them.
thank you.
Get us,
It's funny,
get us on the air and make sure
we-
everything's going well.
We
and-
got here. Me and at least Tyler was here early on time. We got here. We were totally late, and we were like, "Oh crap, we need to go. We need to go." And then we couldn't find the place, and we found it. And then we brought our stuff in, and like we blinked, and then all of a sudden everything was set up and ready. It was so scary.
Truly
Yeah.
fantastic.
It was
I mean,
crazy.
Oh, yeah.
They've
incredible.
done this a time or two.
I bet, yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you got a couple more songs for us?
Yeah. The big thing we got this one song that we all love. At least us three love to sing loud and proud. We'll give it a go, and then maybe we'll talk a little more and then finish off.
Okay, great.
This one it's the Lucky Sextet. You tell us a little bit about the Lucky Sextet.
So, this is a nice little side moment during the first act in which it's kind of this scene of these three low, poor, dirty. They're minors,
Dirty.
and so they're kind of sleazy. And so they make this bet of, hey, let's go pick up not just three women, but they're like highest class women. And it fails horribly. There's part of this song is
Horribly.
actually just pretty much a giant roast of how ugly and poor and disgusting they are. And so
Which they are.
yes,
Of course.
of course. So then
they're
they one of them decides, well, if that's not going to work, maybe I'll just sing about how great Atlantis is. And next thing you know, the entire company has joined in, And yeah, this is probably everyone's favorite song, and I think you'll be able to see why.
Atlantis, I love ya wherever you roam. Through rain, sleet, or storm, I'll keep you safe and warm. I love you, Atlantis, Atlantis, take me home. There's no place to love more, especially when it's home, sweet home. When I'm down, down to the down, and I pray, tears just roll down from my eyes. I will never, never stray from the light that gives all the life. Atlantis, I love you wherever you roam. Through rain, sleet, or storm, I'll keep you safe and warm. I love you, Atlantis, Atlantis, take me home. There's no place to love more, especially when it's home, sweet home. One more time, Atlantis, I love ya wherever you roam. Through rain, sleet, and storm, I'm gonna keep you safe, safe and warm. I love you, Atlantis, Atlantis, bring me to you. There's no place to love more, especially when it's home, sweet home. Especially when you're home. Come on, if you can, baby. Home, sweet home. Home, sweet home. I accidentally hit the microphone and it started to fall, but I caught it.
It was quite comical.
It was a very good save, though, I must say. It was a great save.
You can't see it like we can here, but there's quite a bit of acting going on.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, you're on the radio.
I forget all too often. So maybe we can talk about how we all met and how we all started to link together on this project.
Yeah, that's
So it was really funny. It was a funny story. So I knew Tyler through a playwriting class where you'd write plays and you get them read in the class, right? And I'd always write these crazy weird plays. So when we ran into each other like on a bus, right, just randomly on the 22 North, if anybody knows. Shout out to that MTD bus system. You're always,
I'll tell you that much.
You're always on time. Not. Anyway,
That's a horrible lie.
exactly.
I don't know. It's usually on time for me. Maybe you guys just have the bad luck.
Man, I take the 22 North right on Lincoln and like Illinois. Man, it's always like 3 minutes late. It's terrible.
Well, that's your problem. It's not in the middle of campus. It's always on time for me. I'm just saying. The second I walk out, it's there.
Well, anyway, we happened to run into each other outside of Cranert, the 22 North, and I was like, hey, I got the show sitting around. It's a show called Atlantis. And I was like, I'm looking for a director to direct next year. Do you got some time next semester? And he was like,
I said I have to see what's going on next year, and then I figured out what was happening next year. So then I was like, yes, I have the time. Let's do it. And so I was on board. He sent me. It was a very early draft, I think, of the first half.
Yeah.
To just kind of. Just to give me a feel of like what he was going for, and yeah, I liked it enough where I then immediately emailed him after reading it saying, "Hey, where's the second half of this? I want to see how this ends."
And then like 4 days later, after like hurriedly editing all the typos in the second half, I sent him the second half, and that was history. But the thing is, that's not where Simon comes into the picture, because me and Simon. we've known each other for a little bit.
We go way back.
We go way back to
How way back?
at least my freshman year of college. I was in an a cappella group called the Extension Chords. Woot woot. And he was in the a cappella group called
The Other Guys, of which I am now the music director.
and they have a
fancy.
concert actually this Friday. You should definitely
Saturday.
come out. They have a concert this Saturday.
Saturday.
You should come out.
Yeah.
Where's the concert?
So this is actually going to be in Follinger.
In Follinger. It's going to be fantastic. But yeah, I knew him through a cappella. I quit a cappella to dedicate more time to writing, of course. And then I was in the same choir as him, the U of I's flagship choir, the Chamber Singers, directed by Dr. Andrew McGill. And we hit it off immediately because we realized, like, oh, wait, we're not just like a cappella singers. We're actually like really dedicated to music. And we're like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like we both were in a cappella communities in which people from all over the university, many different walks of life within the university, come together and make music, and they kind of enjoy that idiom. A lot of what we sing is pop. Not all we sing, but Scott and I both being music majors and being a part of the same ensemble and being a part of the Flight Ship ensemble, where we're under the direction of one of the most prestigious choral directors in the world. We had a lot of similar ideas about music, and I think it was an interesting way for us to connect. And I think that we found when we started talking more about our opinions and ideas about music, we found they were more alike than we anticipated, actually.
Ideas, music, and philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I think the big thing is I started having him sight read. Like I wrote this. I started like asking him every day to sight read my music. I was like, hey Simon, hey Simon.
Yeah. This is exactly
Simon,
right.
sight read my music, and he'd be like, "No, I have class." I'm like, "Ditch your class. This is more important."
Yeah.
And he
pretty
was
much
like,
after every
"No."
class.
But then, yes, he'd say yes. I wore him down eventually.
Yeah. So
But yeah, he sight read my Christmas oratory, which is a fun little oratory I wrote. Then he sight read "To Be Amongst the Clouds," and then I told him a little bit about how I had a director for Atlantis, and I said, "Hey Simon,
you want to sight read some more music?
you want to sight read some more music?"
As I
the
swe-
director, as the music
as
director.
the music director.
I
of
swear it's
Atlantis.
very different music, but you should still sight read it.
And he said, "Yes." He said, "Yes, Mom." Oh my gosh. Oh.
So, yeah.
And went to my mom, and I was like, but yeah, and so then that's how this fabulous threesome got started, and so we went right to work and started editing the score, editing the script. It's been a long process, but it's about to come to fruition. Again,
Yeah, lots of work. So,
yeah.
so how long has this whole project started from? I mean, from the time that you actually, the three of you got together. Let's
Probably
Well-
about a little under a year.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it? I don't remember when you wrote originally, like had started writing it.
So the first draft was completed my senior year of high school.
Oh wow, yeah,
Wow.
that was a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it was either December or January when we
It
met
was
on the.
cold. Very
Yeah, it was.
cold.
It was during
very
the dead of
cold.
winter. It was either right at the end of fall or right at the beginning of the spring.
We met in Cranor Intermezzo, right? Somewhere in the
I'm
cafe.
I'm
I
sorry.
think.
I'm talking me and Scott
hold
still.
on. We're not
Hold on
there
a
yet.
minute.
All
Come
right,
on.
whatever.
Hey.
Let's talking
But
about
no,
the
that
show.
meeting Scott was talking about on the 22 North. Yes, that
Yeah.
was in the dead of
infamous
winter.
meeting.
I think it was December when he first brought it to me, and then in January is when him and I got together and started talking about it. And I talked about like the things that I was seeing in the script, the themes that I saw, the parallels to real life I was drawing.
And the
then-
things that need to be cut.
Yeah, and a few things I was like, yeah, from a storytelling, maybe this doesn't work. And then, so then we started working on that, and then probably somewhere February,
Yeah.
March is when I met Simon.
We had the big meeting in Intermezzo, where all
Yeah.
the famous people meet, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And we had
and soon
some
to be
lunch.
famous.
Oh, yeah, soon to be famous.
Well,
Soon to be
I thought
famous.
that was just no, just kidding. But
Once this runs on Broadway, we'll talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
of course. When?
When?
But yeah, and so we had some food, some conversation. We got right into the score. We got into the script. We wanted to like ask ourselves, what did we want to accomplish with this production, and from there, 6, 7, 8 months later, we have this today.
Yeah, it was a very long process because actually back at the very beginning of March, we got kind of a makeshift cast together for one of the drafts just to figure out like the final like edits and cuts that should be made before we submitted it to different groups, and we actually submitted it to all around the community, which I love so dearly. I just love the theater community here. But yeah, and then ISM contacted me, and they're saying, "Hey, we're interested in your show." So I kind of went and pitched it to them, and then they called me back to say, "Unfortunately, we're not going to do it next semester as our main show, but we would love to figure out some sort of production with it." And so then from there, we kind of settle on, we're not going to do maybe a full production, but like a stage production or some sort of presentation in which we'll have a full pit orchestra, and we'll have actors, and we'll learn all the music, and it will be sung, but maybe we won't have all the fancy gizmos like the fancy lighting and the sound and the big sets or anything. So so then yeah, once we kind of found our date and figured out what we were going to be able to do with it, then it just kind of snowballed from there, and here we are now, you know.
And
Yeah.
here we are now.
And ISM is the Illini Student Musicals.
Yes.
Okay, so do you have more songs for us?
We actually have one more, and we're just gonna repeat one that we already did because we love it so much.
Okay,
And,
well, you know,
obviously
and maybe
people
you
love
could
it so
even
much.
like surprise us with a little acapella or something. along the way.
Oh,
A one,
I want to
a
see.
two,
I
a
want to
one,
see
two,
that.
I can guarantee the other guys would be happy to star on this radio show. Not trying to plug
to
us
star.
or anything.
To star. Did you hear him? To star. Listen to that ego. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so we're gonna be singing, just because we love it so much, and we know you loved it so much. We're gonna be singing "It's Always Been You" one more time.
Ooh, very nice.
You are a tap dance shoe on a cloud of air, or the one that's always playing up in my hair. I'm a fool when I go off and stare. Oh yeah, it's always been you. You're the leaves on the tree in the swaying wind, or a candle in the night that just feels so right. I'm a saint bound for heaven that just never sinned. Oh yeah, it's always been you. You're the one that's always on my mind. You're the one that I want by my side. I'm a bee and you're my honey. Oh, won't you stick to me? I am a ghost. I am invisible. You're my host. You make things livable. We're two hearts joined, inseparably. Tell me, oh, it's always been that tap dance shoe on a cloud of hair, oh, the one that's always playing in my hair. I'm a fool when I go off and stare. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, it's always been you. It's always been you. It's always been you. It's always been you.
Bravo, bravo.
Well, there you go.
Thank you very much. You have been listening to WEFT sessions, WEFT sessions, and this was the creators of Atlantis putting on quite a few numbers from their show and telling us a little bit about the story, and as well as how the story of how the musical came about. And we really do appreciate you on that.
We thank you
So
so
much
much for
so
having
much.
us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
it was a lot of fun. Thanks again to Mike Feldman and Charlie
Yes.
for all their assistance as always. And I will be going to. Do you want to like just kind of play off while I get the Zara set up?
Yeah,
you know, you can-
exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, our show again Saturday December 8th.
7 p.m.
7
at
p.m.
Lincoln Hall at the U of I campus.
Be there or be square. Rhombus. Square. Either one or the other. And also, remember, Atlantis, I love you wherever you roam. Through rain, sleet, or storm, I'll keep you safe and warm. I love you, Atlantis, Atlantis, take me home. There's no place to love more, especially when it's home, sweet home. When I am down, 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 and LA, tears come down from my eyes, they're rolling. I will never, never stray from the light that gives all of the life. Oh, baby, Atlantis, I love you wherever you roam. Through waves of green foam, you sparkle grand as day. I love you, Atlantis, Atlantis, take me home. There's no place to love more, especially when it's home, sweet home. One more time now, Atlantis, I love you wherever you roam. Through waves of green foam, you sparkle grand as day. I love you, Atlantis, Atlantis, take me home. There's no place to love more, especially when it's home, sweet home. Especially when you're home, baby. Hit me one time, sweet. One more time, sweet home. Home, sweet home. Have a great night.